Set in the Pentland Hills just south of Edinburgh, Easter Howgate Farm is a working SRUC farm, education hub and research centre. Coming up on this week's FAS TV, we learn about the herd's breeding programme, which is focused on the use of artificial insemination, including sexed semen. We hear how a strict heifer selection policy, alongside bull selection, has contributed to improving herd genetics and subsequent fertility, calf survival and improved weaning weights. We also hear from SAC's senior beef specialist Gavin on the potential for the use of AI in commercial suckler herds.
Welcome to Easter Howgate. This is one of the bigger units at SRUC Farms in Hand. I'm George Bakey, I'm the Farms Director. I look after all the in-hand farming operations. Globally, we farm in Scotland just on 10,000 acres, 4,000 hectares. But this is the main beef unit. It's on just on 1,000 hectares and it's just in the outskirts of Edinburgh. The unit itself, the main enterprise is 400 beef cows, 300 calves in the spring, 100 calves in the back end. There's 1,000 ewes, and historically there's been a pig unit in the middle of the farm. It's under a destock at the moment, but that would be the basic operation. We're pretty much self-contained for silage and barley, but we do buy in quite a lot of straw because quite a lot of the buildings are under Home Office regulation, which means that we use more straw. It generates a lot more muck, so we don't actually use as much fertiliser as you might normally would have expected. In the last few years, we've sort of realigned a lot of the operations, and in beef, the beef cow side of things, essentially this is the main beef cow herd. There's a small number of beef cows up at Kirkton, but they're more for environmental grazing and looking at that sort of aspect of cows. For these are very much commercially driven cattle for commercial genetics. The aim of the game being producing standardised animals for doing research trials with. It's 1,000 hectares, 1,000 sheep and sort of 400 cows, finishing everything. So we've one shepherd, with 2 tractormen, 2 cattlemen and a manager if we're fully staffed. You're going to speak to Bruce and Beth. Bruce has been recently made up to being the manager, but he was the senior stockman in the past and has been all the way through this programme that I've been involved with. Bruce has been there. Beth's a student that landed with us 3 seasons ago and she's never left, to be honest. And it's really good to have students coming through, working on the farm and actually understanding the real commercial reality of the kind of farm that we run. And it means that we can get staff that can actually put up with some of the sort of slight nuances that we have that a normal place isn't done, but we can do stuff that normal places cannot do. So things like the sex semen and stuff is really, really part of what they're involved with, and targeting and how you use that properly.
Hi there, so my name is Bruce Wiper, and up till recently I was a senior stock person here at the site Easter Howgate. I've recently just taken on the farm manager role, and I've been on site here since November 2018.
I'm Beth Thompson and I'm the senior stock person here at Howgate. I started here at the end of June last year, but I was a student here beforehand.
Overview of the 2 herds we have here is we've got a spring calving herd that calve from the end of March until middle of May, and we've got an autumn herd that calves from the start of September until the end of November. The makeup of the cows we have on site here at Easter Howgate is it's a Limousin cross Angus and an Angus cross Limousin. This has been run since I believe the mid-90s. That way for the research trial it gives them the most uniform breed that they know everything that's going on internally and externally with these cows for doing research projects on. And we also run a pure ling herd.
So for Easter Howgate, when we're looking at heifer selection, we like to follow a 9-point criteria. We're looking at heifers that haven't come from Johne's positive or Neospora positive dams. We're looking at heifers that aren't free martins, that have passed a pelvic score. The cows have to be very efficient. If they're sitting in the bottom 40%, then we don't keep those heifers either. We're looking at the age of the heifers. They have to be 14 months old on the dot on the day of AI. We don't even give them the day leeway. It has to be 14 months or nothing else. We're looking at them to weigh 410 kilos on that day as well.
So we came up with that criteria ourselves within these meetings that we have on farm, and it was really just to try and make a standardised heifer. So it was trying to standardise everything across the board, so each heifer that was coming in was all having to meet the same points, so we're pulling out a lot of the poorer ones that just didn't make these, or even if she was a good heifer, if there was a reason why she wouldn't make these, as if her dam was a Neospora positive or anything like that. What it's meant is over the years, the younger cows have become a lot more standardised and more uniform, which going forward has given us more consistency to work with in terms of the herd. The spring herd is all synchronised AI for the very first cycle, and we're moving more to 50% of the herd going to natural service after that to some of our own bulls, and then 50% will go back to a second AI programme. And this year will be the first year we're actually looking at trying to put everything to our own bulls for the third cycle. The autumn herd is slightly different. It's a triple synchronised AI programme. There's no natural service at all. And the reason we're looking at doing that is we use male sex semen to deliberately try and get bull calves so we can run them as bull beef, which means we can keep them inside, fatten them during the summer, and we get rid of them at about 12 and 13 months of age.
We're using AI in the herd here at Howgate. We do a lot of research here. The AI allows us to have a much better genetic pool. It allows us access to many more sires than what we would be able to get our hands on as a bull himself. It
just, like as Beth just said there, like giving us access to wider genetics, it gives us access to just a wider pool of bulls that we just would never also be able to use financially. Like we're using bulls that we just would not be able to as a company buy and justify. So it allows us to bring in a lot of different genetics for different reasons. So we can bring in some bulls that are really high yielding on their milk or they're easy calving, and it just kind of lets us stack a lot of these hybrid traits up between the cross of the Angus and the Limousin.
Our AI programme here, we're running a triple synchronised programme. This means the cows are going to their 3 cycles, although as Bruce has touched on, we're trying to cut out that 3rd cycle from the AI. We're trying to make that only our natural sires. As we've found, the 3rd cycle is our most expensive by the time we put them that length. If our cows haven't held to the 1st or 2nd cycle, it means they've had 4 straws of semen, they've had 2 cedars, they've had 3 jags of estromate, they've had a jag of progesterone. So they've had a lot of money put into them at that point for them to then not hold, and to risk them not holding again in that 3rd cycle, it is a cost there. So we're trying to cut that out completely. Our programme is based, it starts just about start of June, where cedars will go in. Every cow on the farm gets a 1st cycle AI. They'll get inseminated the first day with 1 straw, and they'll get done again the same time the next day with a 2nd straw, and that'll be them left until the next cycle comes round, and we'll put the cedars back into them. Those cedars will get pulled and the cows will get tail painted. Any cows that come back with rubbed tail paint, by the time that we are AIing them again, they'll get done again. We usually pick up a couple more on the 2nd day, but not too many. Our heifers, we run them a bit differently. They don't go to the 3 cycles, they only go to the 2nd cycle. Heifers that aren't going to hold until they get to that length are going to be your bad breeders, we've found. If we're running, in the past we've ran heifers through and we've ran them in the 3rd cycle, and by the time they're a 5-6-year-old cow, we find that they're the ones not holding. So we don't put them to the 3rd cycle. The heifers don't get a bull at all, there's no natural sire involved there, they are purely AI. Our Angus heifers are getting a female Limousin sect semen just to make that calving a wee bit easier for them. They were our hardest batch calving. We had a lot of stillborns and a lot of problems with them. So by using that female sect semen, the calves are coming out easier, they're coming out lighter, and our heifers are bouncing back a lot quicker than what they would have done before.
Our breakdown of our costs, we work out taking everything in account, from all the cows that go to the breeding programmes, to having the empty cows, to cows in the 1st cycle, 2nd cycle, 3rd cycle, all the way through to the calf on the ground. We've worked out that for the AI programme it's around about £115 a calf on the ground, and it's working out roughly £65 to £70 for a calf on the ground for a natural service bull. That was worked out on a bull costing £5,000 and being able to live and work for 5 breeding seasons so you get to 7-year-old. So the natural service costs are probably slightly low at the moment, just with the price of bulls have almost doubled as an average for when we used to do that out. So the difference between it now is probably not as big as what it used to be, because a lot of the AI costs, the drug costs and that, they haven't actually changed in the same percentage as what getting a bull into keep has. So it's probably more closer in terms now of a cost per calf on the ground than it ever has been for ourselves. One of the biggest benefits we found with AI here is just the ability of keeping the calving tighter. And normally in our traditional system, it's a 9-week bulling period, and your calving period could extend upwards of 10 weeks just by the time you get longer gestation if a bull's catching a cow right at the end of that period. By being able to keep them tight and synchronised, and even though we're putting our third cycle back to the bull, because they've already been programmed, they're still within. They're not all programmed and cycling by the third cycle, but they're all coming back within a 3 or 4 day window. It means actually our calving pattern is really almost a 7-week pattern. It's then meaning the option there for us is when we do the first AI, a lot of these later calved cows we're able to catch. And in the last couple of years, what we've noticed is we're catching about 50% of our cows that have calved within 30 days. We are managing to catch them and either pull them back one cycle so they're a second calf the following year, or we're actually pulling a lot of them back to a first cycle. So we're actually jumping almost 5 weeks. Keeping cows in the herd, keeping them calving quicker is a main benefit for us on that.
So with us calving in such a short window here, it takes a lot out of a person. We are well staffed. The two of us have calved the cows for the past 3 years together in the spring. It is a two-man job for us. With the number of cows we're calving, we calved down 220 cows this year, with 160 of them being in the first cycle. So that's a lot of cows to calve within a really short window of time. Typically you find some of the breeds go together, so it is a massive benefit because these cows calve, you're saving that money on getting a calver in to help you out. You're saving on the stress of it lasting so long, those cows not going back and calve. But
there is a downside to calving so quickly and so intensely, and it's things like if your setup's not good enough for it, if you don't have anywhere for these cows and calves to go to. Like when Beth mentioned there, we calved about 160 cows in the first cycle. It wasn't even just the first cycle, it was probably the first 10 days to 12 days of the cycle, so it wasn't even over a full 21 days. It was really quick because they're all AI, they were coming really close, so you're probably talking a 10-12 day window. 160 cows and calves with that then gives you a bigger problem of you need to keep things moving. You need to have the ability to move the cows and calves into somewhere safe, so then their calves stay healthy, they're not getting any disease problems, they're not getting injured, but then you also still have to be calving the other ones that are coming on behind you at the back of that. So if you're a farm that's not got a good handling system, or you've not got a good setup, or you don't have the staff levels to deal with this, it actually could become quite a negative aspect for yourself on that.
So our conception rates on the farm, when we're looking at just purely the AI conception rates, across all breeds, across all the ages of cows, all the cycles, we were looking, back in 2020, we were looking at about a 67% conception rate. This has steadily increased to now, so I don't have the figures from last year, but 2024 was at about 90%. So there is a significant increase there. That's just due to us looking after the herd that bit better. A lot of it comes down to management, how you handle the cattle during AI. There's a lot to it to keep them quiet, to keep them calm. The cows are very used to being handled. We do a lot of stuff with them here, so it's not too much stress. But if there is a farm and you're not used to handling cattle and they're not used to it, that becomes an issue. But just being able to really look after the cows, we're bolusing cows, they're getting the minerals they need, it has really helped to push that on. We're hoping to still keep pushing that figure on. We want to hit a 95% kind of target for our AI, but that should soon hopefully come. Our natural service conception rates are they're not as accurate because the bulls aren't going to as many cows as what they would on a normal farm. So they usually sit about 90% anyway, just with the smaller amount of cows they're getting. The cows are programmed anyway. If your bull's working, it's hard for him to miss, kind of thing. The bulls we're running here, as we spoke about, we're running an Angus cross Limmy sub herd, we're running a Limmy cross Angus sub herd, and then we've got our pedigree Ling herd. So we typically running 2 bulls of each breed. So right now we're actually down in Angus, so we're running 1 Angus bull, we're running 2 Limmy bulls, and we're running 2 Ling bulls. These boys are of varying ages, although one of our Angus and one of our Limousin bulls are younger boys. So as of recently, with the increase in price and bulls getting as expensive as they are, we've taken a step back and we've started to look at younger boys. We find that you get a more accurate read on the bull then. You can see what his potential is going to be without him being pushed or ready for a bull sales. You know exactly what you're going to get. You can see him in the flesh. You can see him a wee bit younger as well. You know what his calves are going to come out like, kind of thing. There's also obviously a price that comes with that. You can hopefully get them a wee bit cheaper, younger than you can older on. So yeah, we're focusing on trying to get those bulls and make them last. We had issues with bulls not lasting here. We were buying bulls that were too old, or buying bulls that had been pushed and they were going lame. They weren't working for us. So that's our plan with the younger boys. So yeah, we've got the 5 bulls on site right now. They won't be going out until later on after the first cycle's done, but by now they've already had their MOT, they've been semen tested. Our 2 older boys have been used elsewhere, so they've been Campylobacter tested. They're all clean. So every single year, no matter what, these bulls will get semen tested, they'll get their all-round MOT, we'll make sure their feet are good, we'll make sure they just still move nice, everything's right with them, just to give them the best chance that we can when they're then going to go to the cows.
In terms of the EBVs that we're looking at, we use the AI sires as our main ones to bring in specific traits, because we're able to look at really strong bulls for very specific traits, whether or not it's milk or easy calving. And traditionally we've always looked for easier calving and milk coming through the Angus side, and then more growth in size and beef value coming through the Limousin side because we cross them. What that's meant is our own bulls that we've bought, we've been able to buy and look at EBVs that are maybe slightly harder and not negative, but harder in terms like our Limousin bull we've looked at is more of a harder calving bull than what we'd maybe look for on the AI, but that's because we know the Angus cows he's going to go to has got a good hybrid vigour about them, they've got a good set of EBVs behind them, and they'll be able to handle a harder, bigger, longer gestation, heavier weight calf. Whereas our Angus that we've went and bought, we've not focused overly too much on his easy calving, but what we looked for more was eye muscle depth, milk value and that still. So we've been able to be a bit more varied on the traits with the bulls that we're looking to buy in compared to a lot of the eye ones that we're looking at. One of the big things and one of the biggest indicators that we can measure of success here of what we're doing is our weaning weights and our calves that we wean. So when we look, we started all our data where we picked, we start a lot of the data that we compare to back in 2018. And back in 2018 until 2025's spring calf crop, we actually managed to increase our 200-day daily live weight gain that we weaned by 34%. We went from 217 kilos up to 292 kilos. And a lot of this comes down to just being able to use better genetics coming in through the AI, but the herd in general becoming a better, higher herd health of just more productive cows, and cows just doing a better job of themselves, but obviously of their calves as well, compared to where we were 6 years ago.
So our culling policy here is a bit different than most farms. I came into calving this year with a list of cows that I knew were going to go to cull this year. They were going to calve down and they were going to go either with calf at foot, or they were going to get fattened here and weaned, and they would go fat at that point. We're really trying to keep on top of the cows to really have that nice uniform herd that we're looking for. So a lot of our older cows, they're not past it, they're perfect cows. They would do a job, no bother, but they're not what we're looking for here. We've just got rid of some of our unregistered lings, so that was a reason for them going. But we like to keep on top of feet issues. Any cows with reoccurring feet issues, they're gone. Cows with bad bags, cows that aren't weaning calves well. We're also killing on things like temperament with the students that we've got here, and even just for us ourselves, cows that are that wee bit spooky, like if they calve down and for 6 hours either side of calving, they're a wee bit spooky, fine, it's just the hormones, that's okay. But if we've got cows and you still can't get in the pen 3 days later, it's a no-go. We can't do it, we can't have it for our sake, and we can't have it for the students that we've got running about, so they're gone as well. We're also killing on the efficiency of the cow, so depending on how the cow's weaning a calf as well.
And when we talk about efficiency, what we have started to look at here in terms of Howgate was cow efficiency, and it was a cow's weight against the 200-day live weight of the calf that she weaned, and we take all these weights on the same day so they're accurate. And any cow that weans a calf in the bottom 10% weight of our herd, regardless if she's a good cow, a big cow, a fleshy cow, a wee cow, we kill her out the herd. And what that's meant, I think that's probably been one of the best drivers we have had over the years of being able to pull up the bottom end of our herd really quickly. Because if we'd focused on the top end of the cows and the best cows, it takes a long time to try and improve your top quality. But by being able to pull our bottom end up really quickly, we have went from about 24–25%. We're now sitting at about 42–43%. So we've really dragged up the bottom end of our cows are being more efficient, and that's what I think when we talk in terms of the herd being a more efficient herd. We haven't greatly improved the top end. It has improved a bit, but not massively. It's the bottom end that we've really been able to drag up, and that's just helped uniform the whole herd and kind of gives a good example of everything that we're talking about when we're trying to create everything to be similar.
I think for anyone considering AI, there has to be the goal in mind. You have to know what you want, and the bulls are there to use. There's plenty of semen for any goal that you're looking for. It can be beneficial in many ways. We shouldn't let the cost of it put us off. We're looking at here about a 5 to 10% increase. The AI calves are doing 5 to 10% better than the natural calves when it comes to daily live weight gains, and then their 200-day weaning weight is better because of that.
One of the bigger things I'd say is not should you do AI, should you go to natural service. I think it's a case of looking at your own system. Look at your own system and work out what works for you. If you've got a small batch of cows, you can AI really easily. It also then means you're not having to run a stock bull or anything like that, so there is savings to be made there, but also safety-wise, if it's a small farm or a small croft, one of the biggest dangers on that farm is the stock bull, so you could look at ways of getting rid of them. One of my biggest take-homes is just look at your own setup. If you're not set up for AI, or you don't have a good handling system, or you're a one-man band, it probably won't work for you. But if there's ways you can even get some of your cows into it, it's a really good, quick, easy way of getting really top-end, high-end genetics into your herd that you can then rely on, that'll compound further down the years and you'll be able to breed on top of them as you go.
Hi, I'm Gavin Hill, Senior Beef Specialist at SRUC. We're talking about AI, artificial insemination, but we're talking about synchronisation as well. We're really putting all our cows into heat at the same time, and so they're calving at relatively at the same time, which means a huge change for our businesses in the way that we can produce calves at the same time. The management's easier. Future breeding policy, we can choose heifers that are very close to calving, very same ages as well, and it makes it so much easier for us to carry out our herds. We also have to look at what does it really provide. There is many different reasons why folk will use artificial insemination. We were talking about East Howgate here, how they can actually use one bull, but it can cover many different cows, because in natural service you're only talking about one bull probably doing 30 to 35 cows. Here's the ability to use a bull now, and relatively bulls are very expensive nowadays. Many folk will actually buy bulls now, natural service bulls, take them whole and actually extract semen from them so they can actually maximise the amount of cows they go to, and so if they're paid a lot of money for them, they can actually be spread out a lot of cows. But it's vital for us to also make sure we get our AI, our artificial insemination and synchronisation right. Now they'll go and say to us, well, who uses it and who doesn't use it? There's probably not as much uptake as we'd like. We need to keep developing how we do it. Conception rates can still be between 55 and 60%. But look at that. Think about that. If you put 100 cows to the bull, you're having, in a very short period of time, up to 55, 60 calves at the same time being born. And that's a major factor for what we're looking to actually do with artificial insemination. But synchronisation is an important point, is getting them to calve at the same time. But there is thoughts you have to have as well. If you've actually got 100 cows going to the bull, and you've got 55 or 60 gotten calved from that one go of AI, if you're wanting them to be AI'd again for the second run, you could be talking about 35 to 40 cows coming back. Now, like here at East Howgate, they will synchronise them again, but others will not. And the question is, do you have enough natural bull cover to cover these cows that come back? Because it could be 35 or 40 within the same 2 or 3 days. And if not, you either have to think about whether you should be doing it, or actually maybe spread out your AI a few days later so they're not all synchronised at the same time. So actually these cows can cover, bulls can cover cows coming back at different times as well within that week or 2 weeks. I think that's vitally important for what we are doing here. But you go and say, well, who else is using AI and synchronising? We come across many herds with large herds in the business, large herds, but they're very early calving, which means a lot of the time that they have to go to the bull when they're still in the sheds. In our climate here, we can have 7 or 8 month winters. AI is a great way, and a practical way, and quick way of inseminating all your cows before they go out. Because if you were asked to do it in the sheds, many sheds that we have are cubicles and slats, and it's been practical to use it for natural service, and there's a great benefit. So there's one great benefit. The second thing is, it allows other herds to get hold of some of the best genetics available and not have to purchase bulls for doing that job, because many of them simply can't practically do it or justify economically to actually be doing it as well. And you'll see a number of herds where they still have bulls, but they still inseminate maybe a proportion of their cows because it's great maternal genetics, and that'll be their future replacements. So it's they don't need another bull for that, but they're using the best maternal genetics to do that job. So that's what's quite important. You'll also find other herds where they simply are maybe got fields away from home, they're renting away from home, or it's not practical in their areas, or where they've been renting, there's bulls next door at the same time, so the same as well, inseminating them as well. But we've also got to talk about there's a lot of differences. There's those at Easter Howgate today where they're actually triple inseminating them. So it's done first go, 21 days later, and then 21 days later. There's those that will just inseminate for the first go, the second goes bulls. You've got to make sure you've got the bull power to be able to back it up. If you haven't got the bull power, it's not something you should be also considering doing. And I think what you'll learn today at Easter Howgate is management is key. You've got to be able to cope with the numbers if you've got a lot of numbers. You're able to calve them, know where they're going, or it can make it worse for you. You'll talk about today as well with sex semen. One of the big uptakes of AI, artificial insemination now, is very much the use of sex semen. Where we see it very dominant now is ability to go into dairy herds. But it's coming into commercial herds as well. And they're looking at it and saying, well, if the cost is right, can we actually be doing it as well? So we can produce nothing but heifers as well if we want it maternal. Easter Howgate we'll talk about today as well, where they're actually doing it in their autumn herd with male semen, so everything they get is bulls, and they can just finish them off 12, 14 months in the sheds as well. That has a position to be in the future, but we're still working very much in developing it as well. One great positive bit about the use of AI is you can actually change your genetics each year because the bull's not with you. And that gives you that choice of if it's worked for us this year, do we keep going with that, or can we actually change the genetics and what we're doing? You remember some of our herds that when you choose a good bull to do a maternal job, within a couple of years the daughters are coming back to that bull. And you think to yourself, well, I can't use that bull, I need to either move it on or sell it or whatever. But the use of AI, you can actually just change every year. And I think that's important to be looking at as well. But what we go back to is this ability to, that if your herd, have you bought in purchased cows in your herd, or you're trying to establish it, or you've let your calving spread go wide, then synchronization will bring them in to calve at a relatively same time. And that improves it, and so calving period becomes less. But also importantly, we do get a 410-day calving period payment now as part of our Scottish Beef Calf Scheme. And that really helps us tighten up our calving period. So these are the aspects we want to look at. But really what we want to do is make sure that, first of all, our management, can we cope that if we've got 100 cows synchronised at 55 or 60, might calve within the first 4 or 5 days, well, up to 2 weeks or whatever. Can you cope with it? Can you deal with it?
We'll be back at Easter Howgate later in the series to hear about their proactive approach to herd health planning combined with a rigorous testing regime for Johne's disease, which has improved the health and productivity of the Easter Howgate herd.